welcome back in, loyal listeners, ladies and gentlemen. Gridiron 360. It is Friday, the 20th of March, and day 5, I guess, of quarantine, if this is the first week. We do thank you all for listening. Bill and Dave in the house. We got out there with updates all week on what was going on in free agency. We got out there with individual teams the last couple weeks by division, talking about their free agency. And I'm going to call today's cast Comment Ball. Today is Comment Ball. Or Commentary Ball. No, Comment Ball.
You can't change it after you called it.
That's right. That's right. Put the trademark, go ahead and lock it down. That's my phrase, Comment Ball. So what we want to do today is we noticed some activity, and hopefully due to this quarantine, it has led a lot of people to us on the airwaves, podcasts, socials, the whole 9 yards, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
We want to show you our appreciation. Some of them were comments from folks, whether it be good or bad about what we had to say. We appreciate it.
They were all good. It's just they weren't. Some of them were correcting us. And look, we're a humble crew.
Absolutely.
We're going to take our licks where we get them, and we're not going to run from them because we want this to be something that's enjoyable for the fans. So we're gonna mention you.
Yeah, we're actually going to address specific comments we saw on some casts we got out the past 2 weeks. Now again, we are Gridiron 360. There's a good mishmash of college and NFL with the draft coming up, but we do that. We do fantasy. We do all of it. Go back and listen to some of our stuff throughout the year to keep you entertained. We have noticed that the shorter time cast, the shorter duration, 20, 30 minutes, have maybe been a reason people have come and listened, so they don't have to spend too much time. We're gonna try to oblige, my friend. But we do thank you, and the reason I say we are all-encompassing of all these things. We're not beat writers for specific teams. We're passionate fans. We're dads that the only time we have is really football season. The wives are fortunate enough to give it to us. I'm a Clemson guy. Dave's a Florida State guy. I'm a New York Giant. Dave's a Chicago Bear. So we're not beat writers, but we follow it like there's no tomorrow. We're not coming from it like we know nothing.
Yep.
Okay. The reason
and we call BS on each other a lot of times.
And we're forgetful sometimes, and maybe say a wrong name or mention a wrong thing. We don't mean to. We're glad you're calling us out on it. So we're gonna dive right in. And first and foremost, there was a gentleman by the name of Tyler White about 4 days ago, as well as somebody that goes by the handle the Comical Canadian, not chemical, the Comical Canadian. About a week ago, they were on several of our casts and had real nice things to say. So we thank y'all. Keep listening. We want to engage more. If you have specific comments, please fire them at us. Opinions.
Facebook's really good, but we're also reading the comments on YouTube and if you put it on iTunes. So this is what we want. We want the average everyday person, because that's all we are, to have a good conversation. And, a little bit of trash talking's fun, too. Let's keep it in the realm of as good a taste as we can.
Yeah.
And we'll do the same.
Now, I do want to throw out in all caps a please note here. We're 40-something-year-old guys. We're not.
You didn't need to date us.
As prevalent in our knowledge with, we have this channel. We've been doing fine, but we don't know sometimes, if we're crossing the line. We don't think we are. We did get a little bang for the first time from YouTube, which is why there's a delay. We pushed some of the casts. I think we were missing the Houston Texans and then all the AFC Wests. They are looking into it. We've appealed it. It looks like the appeal's approved. So we should be able to get those links up to Facebook from YouTube. But in the meantime, we're also on iTunes, Gridiron 360, and they did go through to iTunes, and I pushed those casts that we were missing to our Facebook page just so we could get the content out there, because it's timely. I'm not trying to beat my chest, but the news
He's literally beating his
of
chest
Melvin
right now.
Gordon going to the Denver Broncos. We talked, I think it was yesterday, about the Broncos yesterday around lunchtime, and one of the things I said, because it's mostly trying to stick to free agency, would maybe Melvin Gordon's a good spot for the Broncos. And this morning, the news, he is the 4th highest paid running back now, which is, there is a big gap. But what was it, 2 years, 16 mil, 13 and a half guaranteed. So, yeah, kudos to me. Kudos.
Blind squirrels.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I thought that's why we wanted. I'd want to try to at least get the stuff out there because we don't always call it. And more times than not, we don't. But yeah, get a little pat on the back for daddy. Woo! No, I'm kidding. No, I don't. All right. So now, and we're gonna break it up. But it looks like I rambled there in that intro for about 5 minutes. So now we're going to get to specific comments and address some of the stuff. A gentleman by the name of Shawn Dymond, hopefully I'm pronouncing correctly. It's a D-Y-M-O-N-D. Had some comments for us about a week ago on our podcast about the free agency for the NFC North and the Detroit Lions. So, Dave, I'm going to let you start out by kind of addressing some of the stuff and jump in as such. And by the way, Shawn, we appreciate you, brother.
Yep,
please,
absolutely.
Please keep listening. We'd love more interaction. We want you to, this is going out on our airwaves. So anyone that's listening is going to know that, we want to give you a little shout out and want to keep you active. Thank you.
All right, Shawn, buddy, I'm gonna start with something. I want you to know, I don't know where you're at in the mitten, but I did a little time there in my youth. In fact, the first football game I saw, as Bill mentioned, I'm a Bears fan, which is in your division, was at the Silverdome. Super Bowl year 85, just so we know. That was when the fridge almost ran one all the way back to the house. I was at the game. It was over Thanksgiving. I remember it. I remember the two guys smoking a little bit of the wacky tobacco behind me, and my uncle almost getting into it with them. So
awesome.
I got a good memory. My first hockey game was in the JLA, which is no longer there. Sad to say.
Love me some
I
Steve
saw him play the
Eisenman,
Toronto Maple Leafs. So I've seen a lot of sports
Nothing
in
like
Detroit.
NHL 98 on the Sega Genesis.
Blackhawks were good.
And the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, that was 92 was the Blackhawks one.
Loaded, I think, on that team on Sega. I think, you had Kozlov, Konstantinov, Yzerman, Fedorov. I mean, it was, woo!
Yeah,
good times.
The Russian Red Army came over.
The big red machine.
All right, so I want you mentioned something on here. I want to throw this out there, and this was one of your comments. I'm going to skip to the end. 226 losses suffered by the 4 Detroit teams in calendar year 2019 are not only the most in Detroit sports history, but also the most of any city or market in any calendar year in the history of North American professional sports. Did not know that. I got to tell you, if you're an admitted Detroit Lions fan, for all the complaining about Cleveland, this is a fan base that knows how to trudge through because certainly your history. Yeah, we don't
win. I mean, look, even when they had one of the greatest running backs of all time.
Oh, he was good.
And for you, Shawn,
hated watching him beat us, but he was good.
For me, it's Walter Payton, but right behind him is Barry Sanders.
Oh, Barry's a man.
I love him. But even then, they were on hard times in terms of making postseason appearances and not even sniffing the championship. So. I guess the point is you're very passionate. You're very knowledgeable. You're still a fan. Kudos to you, brother. Because, look, I'm a New York Giants fan. They've been sucking. Historically, we're better. And I know that will come back, and it's a roller coaster. But, there are those teams that the roller coaster is on the down part of the ride more than on the click, click, click going up. And I just that's great passion. That's the type of people I want listening and commenting and interacting with us. That's awesome, man.
Yep, absolutely. So let's get into what you said about the team. And you mentioned we did a lot of talk and understand. We're trying to give everybody a lot of information and not maybe we probably spent a little bit more time on this podcast talking about who was open and available and where they were. Your comment was that they need defense. Their offense was number 5 before Stafford was hurt. Defense was around 31. You put Snacks, which would be Damon Harrison, was a big reason for that this past year. And then you also wrote that you have no pass rush, and that we need to look beyond the names that are out there and released. Which again, I take your constructive criticism there to a point. There, I think that's I get what you're saying. But you also wrote team and Stafford has confirmed Stafford will be here. Ford family wants to win now this year, and Patricia is gone. I'd agree with you on that front. I guess let me first start with the Stafford part. While Stafford is, confirmed to get back, and I know there were inklings out there, I think if this year of all other years is a year to pay attention, and I use the Tom Brady as an example, a guy that, even I did. I said it early on in the podcast that it would really surprise me that if he left, it just didn't make a lot of sense. But here we are watching that play out over the last couple of days. You've got a team, Stafford has been in this scenario. You guys have been a heavy pass offense for most of his career, struggled to find consistent running back play there. So, while they may be going for it this year, this team has to think towards the future offensively, I think you can't go blind on Stafford because eventually, and you mentioned it yourself, until he got hurt, he's been pretty healthy for most of his career. But he's up there, and he's got some age. So, it's talking about a team going beyond. I agree with you that they're going to play for this year, but understand they're picking third in the draft for a reason. So I do think that that's something they've got to consider. Are they really that close? And with the elevation of other teams potentially, where do they fall? Now, again, we know as a Bears fan and a Detroit fan that Green Bay has got Aaron Rodgers, which for most years is going to pencil them in for a double-digit win season. We also know that they struggle in the playoffs when it comes down to playing good defenses. So it's the kind of thing, that you got to watch for. The other part is you thought you found your running back, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the need to look at some of that, because if Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake. No, not Kenyon Drake. That's the guy from Arizona. Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson. If Kerryon Johnson, plays down this injury role again, you lost McKissick. And again, I'm not saying these guys are all world, but you've got to get productivity out of that running game, with an aging quarterback. We didn't want to not skirt that. But your comment about the defense is absolutely true. And then listening back at the podcast, I think we talked about it. We did, and this was on me. We did miss. I did not see that Snacks was actually released. He does still show up on the free agent listings, but he was also well thought of, which is the reason. And if you go look into the background from it, that there was something more going on, according to Harrison, on that front.
And I don't know. I haven't seen anything updated, and I did do a little looking into it. Yes, it is a name I called out. You mentioned names. Look, I mentioned it at the beginning of this. And if you listen, I'm a New York Giant fan. I was fortunate enough to see Snacks on our defense. Our defense hasn't been great the past few years, and that was during time he was on it. Wish he got to experience better. But one thing I could count on is that we were okay at stuffing the run, especially if it came up the middle, and that was him. And if you look, the Lions were 32 out of 32 teams in pass defense last year. The run defense was 21. He's not a pass rusher. You're right. You had no pressure the way you needed it to. But that's not what he does, in my mind. What he's good at is clogging up holes, stuffing the run, and I think he did an all right job for a guy that's been around a while. He's getting a little older now, and yes, he's a name. But again, it's a guy that I know as a name because of his time with the Giants. Now, look, you let go of Darius Slay. You all saw it coming. Okay.
But you let go of him after you filled the spot.
But you got, you did. I think that one of the best pickups maybe in the past few days, and kudos to the Lions, is grabbing Desmond Trufant from the Falcons. He's young. He's younger than Slay. He's a good corner, and you got him on a 2-year, $21 million deal. It's not too bad for a corner. You also pick up Daron Harmon from the Patriots at D-back, and you got Jamie Collins, which, he's a name, getting a little older, but I think he played pretty well last year, all things considered. That defense up in the Northeast was pretty good, right?
Yep.
They were, for at least until
first half of the year, they were record-setting.
Yeah, unbelievable. Now you got, you let Snacks go, but you bring in Danny Shelton here. Okay, again, we're things have happened in the next few days. Brought in Chase Daniel, not You've experienced him in Chicago, but he's the consummate backup, and there are those guys in the league, and I think he does a good job at just being that. Okay.
Yeah. He's probably not an upgrade from Jeff Driscoll from last year, but I don't think he's necessarily a tank from there. And again, you said they are going to stick with our guy Stafford there.
And here's my thing too, Shawn. I mean, it sounds like you love Stafford, and rightfully so. I'm an Eli Manning guy till I die. I did see, but I am a realist, especially as a fan, and I saw the decline coming. I will always love Eli Manning, but you know as well as I do, I saw the decline coming. And if they're in, trying to get in like a win now type mode, to make a push with, the Bears having some struggles, the Vikings, who knows if they lost a lot of pieces on defense here in free agency.
Vikings have a lot of room to move.
And Green Bay, I mean, they have Aaron Rodgers, but so maybe Detroit's trying to make their push, and I just, I don't know if Matt Stafford is that guy anymore. Not that he is the Eli Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees age, but he's that next group.
Yep.
And that includes an Aaron Rodgers. And do you, Shawn, please hit us back if you hear this, believe that he's your guy this next year? Maybe the next
I'd be curious, too,
years.
what your thoughts are and how long it'll last. Yeah.
I understand the love, the Ford family, for loyalty and respect and the character of him. Look, Stafford played at Georgia. He was, right up
down the road from us.
Right down the road from us. He was a great quarterback in college, and his character was always solid. So I think he's done wonderful things. Personally, I know his wife had some.
She still does. Yeah.
She still? Yeah. And I mean, he's got his foundation.
She's working through it.
Towards the breast cancer, isn't it? Breast?
No, I thought she had the brain tumor.
It might be. Yeah.
Either way, it was significant, and if we get it wrong,
and obviously that's something I think was highlighted this year during one of their games. But I bring it up because the character of the guy, I like him. He is what's good about it. But as a football guy, as a Detroit Lions fan, and it seems like pretty darn passionate that you are, is he your guy?
So here, we're going to send you a note so you can hopefully check this out and give us your feedback. Maybe we got worse. We want to know. We want to know. But thank you, buddy. Good luck to you. I got to tell you, even though you're in my division, if ever there's a team, I think, and really a city that could really use a championship, you got my vote. You got my vote, buddy.
Good stuff. Thank you, my friend. Yep. And we'll get to the next person on our next cast.